Hi guys, we're going to do another review of the mapping of the ancient world in today's video, and we're going to map out all the sequels. I know I made a vocal error last time by saying we were going to map out the prequels when I just finished mapping out all the prequels. Today tonight, whatever it is, whatever time it is, wherever the heck you are, tonight we're going to map out the sequels of the ancient world. Of course, we have the main 4-book series that happens in this general area from Guria down to the Jato to Sanctus Bait and across the ruined kingdom, the ruined Wanter kingdom, the royalists' empire. Because in the main book series, it's the premise of it is teens growing up in a post-apocalyptic world, inferring such, and so the world is completely destroyed. Most of the unuregnum is in disarray. Everyone is simply trying to survive. But this general area up here, this entire realm, it is pretty much completely destroyed, and everything's destroyed, right? And so, mind you, within 15 years is a long time for vegetation to grow without obstruction. So, and to speak of realms, there are 7 realms in the unuregnum. There's the first realm of Ammon's body, and there's the second realm, Furdo, and then there's the third realm, God's garden, and then there's the fourth realm, Gehenna al Rabas, and then there's the fifth realm of Minku, and the lands of Chi are part of the Minku realm. And then there's the 6th realm, the Paldo Empire. And then there's the 7th realm of the lands, I don't really know what to call them yet, of the unknown lands down here. The unknown lands, the lost lands of unuregnum. That's a good idea. The lost lands of unuregnum. And there's actually a ton that goes on down here. In short, without giving any explanation beyond this. Okay, in one sentence, I'm going to explain the lost lands, okay? Once upon a time, in the beginning of creation, dragons and giants existed across all lands, including the third realm. But as we currently exist in 2025, the only place you'll find any dragons in the entire unuregnum is down in the lost lands, because they've been executed, they've been exiled from existence throughout all the other realms. So in all of the 6 realms of the unuregnum, only one realm, the lost lands of the unuregnum, are not necessarily willing to live with dragons, but they've found a way to live with the dragons and work with them. So in the entire unuregnum of all the lands and empires of humans and species of all sorts, these are the only lands that were able to work with the dragons and live in union with them. So, anyways, back on to the main reason why we're here, the sequel series. So in the immediate sequel series, we have the Adventures of the Ancient World. Well, yes, we have the Adventures of the Ancient World, all right? And the Adventures of the Ancient World is actually more of a kid's story. without spoiling anything, The Adventures of the Ancient World sees some characters from the third realm travel to the second realm, and they also travel to the fourth realm, but they also travel to many islands throughout the unuregnum, and they travel to the first realm, to Amon's body. They travel to Gehenna, the Furdo, and they travel to all the different corners, the Nord, the Suma, the Guria, Azrumprin, Amos Tiganos, Apollomy, Naranasi. They travel to everywhere, right? Anyways, The Adventures of the Ancient World is the immediate sequel of the main series, the main 4-book series. And then we enter a more serious book. It's called The Ancient World Epoch. It's a 1-book story. It's just... No, it's not the only book, no. There's another book that's 1 book. Not pretty long, so, but it's the only 1-book story. Well, it's one of the two. One of the two. I just need to blow my nose here. The Ancient World Epoch, while it might be repetitive at this point, really explores what happens in the Royalist Empire, as we see in the blue dotted line here. The previous Wanter Empire, but it's still the Royalist Empire because it's still owned by the Royalist tribes of the Empire, even though they probably don't want to consider themselves that anymore because they're all the young kids who grew up in the world destroyed by the Royalist Empire. So why would they want to be associated with that at all? But in the Ancient World Epoch, we see the Royalist Empire rebuilt in its former glory. Not former, but in the image of the children's idea of its former glory. Because in the Ancient World, the Epoch, we see all the children as adults now. So now all of them are rulers of their own little parts of the world. And I wouldn't necessarily say that the population rebounded, but there were immigrations from Guria and Suma and the Nord and Unkrin, and even immigrations from Apollomy and Amon Diganos, and there's actually a little bit of immigration from the Michayun Empire and the Menku dynasty, who helped the children repopulate the empire. And that's a very complicated topic. Yes, it is in fact the help of all the other nations around the Royalist Empire that helped the empire rebound somewhat in its population by mixing. But in the Ancient World Epoch, we learn about something, okay? Because just like all the older generations, they know things that unfortunately we don't, and if they don't pass it down to us, it can get lost in time. And you gotta think, in a great apocalyptic war where no adults survived and everything was destroyed, from literature to script, everything. The children knew nothing. They had to create a world of their own out of what was left behind of an empty, desolate, destroyed world. So they did what they could with what they were given, and they did a good job at that. But they missed an extremely important part, even though some of the kids were extremely spiritual and religious. And that leads to the Ancient World Epoch. It is a story of when evil when evil restores itself in pure harmony without any interruption. And we see the children, as adults, overcome this. And they overcome it much better than their predecessors and their parents did in their age. And that's what separates these kids so much from the sequel series, and how all their parents and the older generations handle things. The children and the way they grew up taught them that things needed to change. And they created a great new world, even though it was a world full of mistakes and full of errors. But every generation has errors and mistakes in it, so it's not to say that, oh, the kids said full of mistakes. Every generation does that. It's just that the kids and the children, as they grow up, they're willing to acknowledge their mistakes, and that's what really separates them from the previous generations, is they acknowledge their mistakes and they're willing to work on them and fix them. They're willing to fix the world that has been destroyed and left behind from the previous generations. And that's what's so great about the Ancient World Mega Multi-Series. It is a anthology of generations that destroy a world to generations that have to fix a world. Anyways, after the Ancient World epoch, we move on to the Children's War, which is another 3-book series. And the Children's War sees, this is about 300 years into the main 4-book series. Post the main book series, post the Ancient World epoch. And in the Children's War, we see essentially a resurgence from Sanyux. Sanyux, in the old scriptural doctrine, like father, like son, the corrupt emperor Axe-Wanter has had many children, over 10 children. And one of his sons survived the apocalypse. But as an old man, that son, just father like son, the sins of the father shall be relived by the son. This is scripture. And one of the sons, as an old man, is deeply corrupted by Sanyux, and he takes on the reins of his late father. And he wages a great scale of war across Gehenna. And he invades Amon's body and the Fador, and he tries to invade the third realm. But unlike the ages of old and the ages of legend, his numbers were nowhere near as high. And great warriors again, but in a more modernized sense, even though the ancient world is set in a medievalized era, but in a more modernized way. We see warriors from the Minku dynasty and the Qi dynasty and the Palo Empire and the Mechoyun Empire, which I'll tell you right now, the Mechoyun Empire is actually the humans who live at the bottom of the sea, the bottom of the ocean. They rule the oceans. They rule all of the oceans of they are the guardians of the oceans of the unuregnum, the Mechoyun Empire. You see, in ancient times, one second here, I just need to blow my nose. In the beginning, and we'll learn about this in the prophecy of the 3 sons in the prequel series, but in the beginning, there are 3 sons. Well, no, yeah, okay, so there's the 3 sons that give life to the universe, but there's also many other 3 sons, right? And 3 siblings and what have you. So one of the many 3 sons were Mechoyun, Menko, and Qi. These sons were sons of a lesser god or a lesser Lord. There's only one God, right? But like a false god. These suns were made by a small demigod, and these suns went to war with each other. And the only way they could, because these three suns were impossible to kill. They could not kill each other. So the only way they could exist is by separating themselves for eternity. So one of the three suns became the guardian of the oceans. And one of the three suns became the guardian of the lower realm of the unuregnum. And you gotta think the lower realm is the lower realm is half of the universe, half of the unuregnum. Half of the unuregnum. Just imagine being in control of half of the universe. That's a lot to be in charge of, right? And just imagine God putting you in charge of half of all of creation. It's like, you need to make sure these people stay in line. And the brother Chi went into exile. But what was unique about Chi is that he invented, and this is a very complicated thing, because a simple tribesman is not dangerous because he's herded goats all his life. But a great warrior is peaceful because it is a philosophy that has been taught. And what I'm getting at is Chi was he was the guardian of peace across the unuregnum. And that's a lot. He was the guardian of peace across unuregnum. Even though he only has a teeny land, but you'd think that a man who lives at total peace wouldn't need much land to be happy. So the brother Chi lives in the land of Chi. Well, his soul in essence lives there now. He doesn't. All the brothers are dead. They're just now like demigods that are worshipped by other empires throughout the unuregnum who don't necessarily praise Amun-Him or Nus, God, the creator of all. So yes, in the children's war, we see the children as adults in all their prime, great power, and we see another one who was a children from when the children grew up, and he also is in his great power, but his great power is corrupted by Seneucus, like the previous emperor, and he wages a great war, and we see a very modernized version of the prophecy of the three sons with all the children and all the great warriors from different, and we see a different war front. We see a different kind of attack. We don't see the same kind of attack in the prophecy of the three sons, of course. And then we have short stories of the ancient world, which, as it sounds, it is a collection of stories compiled into one novel. It'll probably be about 15 to 25 stories, so 15 to 25 chapters. Each story will be one chapter, and there's many different stories in that chapter. Many different stories in that in the short stories of the ancient world. There's many different stories, obviously. One of the stories is, some of the stories that come to mind anyways, is the rivers of 1,000 years, and it takes us on some of the first ancients or humans, whatever you want to call them, to explore the Great Node. And you look up here. Most of the unuregnum doesn't have snow. Snow is very. It doesn't actually. Snow doesn't occur too often. We find snow a little bit down here and a little bit down here. We at least found a little bit of snow in the third realm. We find a little bit of snow up here and up in Guria and in the north. The Nord is the largest piece of frozen powder of the entire universe, unuregnum. And in the short stories of the ancient world, one of the chapters is A Rivers of 1,000 Years, and that explores some of the first beings exploring the Nord. And these eventually become the settlers, the Northern barbarian, who create their empire up in the north, the Northern barbarians. And their founders of their empire spent over 1,000 years mapping out all the rivers. There's more rivers in the Northern than all of the second realm combined. If you cut out the Northern, it would have more rivers than the rest of the entire second realm combined. You could be traveling those rivers for 1,000 years and you still wouldn't have them all mapped out. That's thousands of years has been spent mapping out the rivers of the Northern. They just go on forever, and they're frozen rivers too. Like, it's not even that. You're surrounded by snow and ice, so it's not even It's just barren frozen rivers for thousands of years on end. It's crazy. That's one of the main, and I'm very looking forward to The Adventures of Bon and Philippe, and that is a royalist empire couple who don't want to be a queen and a king. They just want to love each other and run away on a romance journey. And it's so beautiful to see them run away throughout the second realm and explore different great sightings of great legends, and they just go on a romance story. It's so beautiful to see. And then, of course, we have the last book in the series, guys. Sophia's Garden. In Sophia's Garden, we see one of the 7 realms be completely destroyed. Apocalypsed. Entirely ruined. Only one girl survives. And while the rest of the unuregnum is living in great joy and peace, some of those higher dimensional beings decide to travel to the third realm on a fun excursion. Only to discover not something so fun. And all they find was a little girl in a completely destroyed world. They take this girl back to the higher realms of the unuregnum. And they raise her and train her and teach her the great arts. And they teach her creation and how to be a leader and a great warrior and everything. And in the 3-book series, Sophia's Garden, because it's another 3-book series, it's another trilogy, we see Sophia grow from a little girl to a powerful woman, to the leader and restorer of an entire realm. She is the creator of the realm. She rebuilds the entire realm from zero. From just herself, she rebuilds the entire realm again, Sophia's Garden. And it's such a perfect climax and ending to the anthology, the 28-book anthology of the Ancient World Mega Multi-Series, Future of Literature and Media Entertainment, I will add. What a masterpiece.